The smoke was still rising when they found it. A Sherman tank, half buried in the mud, its steel torn open like a wound. The battlefield was silent now. Only the sound of the wind whispering through broken trees. A group of German engineers approached carefully, boots crunching over frozen soil. It wasn't victory they felt, not pride, not relief, but something else. Curiosity. The tank looked ordinary at first. Dull green paint. Star on the side, shell holes scarred deep. But when they pried open the hatch, the air that escaped wasn't the smell of fuel or oil. It was something human. A faint trace of smoke, sweat, and paper. Inside, they would find something that no one expected. Something that would haunt and change them all, beat. Because inside that tank, they didn't just find a machine. They found a story. Winter 1944, the war had turned cold. Not just in the air, but in men's hearts. In a small forest near the German border, a team of engineers from the Wehrmacht was assigned a grim task. Study the American Sherman tank, the weapon that had rolled across Europe like an iron tide. Their names were ordinary. Kurt Vogel, chief engineer, Hans Becker, mechanic, and Emil Hartmann, the youngest, barely 22, with oil-stained hands and a mind that asked too many questions. They had seen tanks before, Panzer IVs, Tigers, all machines of steel and precision. But the Sherman was different. It shouldn't have been as powerful as it was. It wasn't heavier. It wasn't thicker. Yet everywhere the Germans went, the Shermans kept coming, faster, in greater numbers, unrelenting. Their commander had said, "Find its secret, copy it, and destroy its advantage." So that's what they came to do. They worked in a hangar at the edge of a captured village. Outside, the war thundered on. Distant artillery like a heartbeat. Inside, the silence was colder than the metal they touched. They stripped the Sherman piece by piece. Armor plating, treads, turret systems, Hans muttered. It's simple. Too simple. They build these like tractors, Kurt frowned. Simplicity is the secret. It's what keeps them running. But Emil wasn't listening to the metal. He was looking at something else. Inside the driver's compartment, taped to the wall, was a photograph. A woman, smiling, holding a small child in her arms. Emil froze. The child was drawing something, a little tank made of crayons. He turned the photo over. On the back, scrawled in English, were words he could barely understand. For Daddy, come home soon. He didn't tell the others. Not yet. That night, Emil couldn't sleep. The fire crackled in the corner of the hangar. Hans snored softly. Kurt was writing notes by lantern light. Emil pulled the photograph from his pocket and stared at it. The woman's eyes seemed alive, calm, full of warmth. He whispered, "Who were you?" Outside, snow began to fall, and inside, the boy who had been taught to build weapons felt something he hadn't felt in years. Doubt, micro-hook. But the next morning, that doubt would grow. When dawn broke, a messenger arrived. The engineers were ordered to prepare the Sherman for transport to Berlin. Before loading it, they continued their inspection, deeper this time. They opened ammunition racks, wiring compartments, and toolboxes. Inside one metal drawer, Emil found something strange, a small tin box. Inside, it's not bullets, not tools, but biscuits, half-eaten, wrapped in paper that smelled faintly of chocolate. Tucked beneath it was another paper, a folded letter. Emil's heart quickened. He unfolded it carefully, the English words faded but legible. If you're reading this, it means this tank didn't make it home. But if you're the one holding it, whoever you are, know this. We didn't fight you because we hated you. We fought because we were told to. Same as you. Emil stared at the handwriting, shaky but deliberate. He read it again, quietly, almost to himself. Maybe one day when the war ends, someone will remember that. He felt a lump in his throat. Hans called from the turret. Emil, stop daydreaming. Help me with this gear assembly. He quickly hid the letter inside his coat, but the words echoed in his mind all day. Maybe one day. He began to see the tank differently, not as a machine of war, but as something human. Each scratch, each dent, told a story. He noticed a small charm hanging near the radio, a cross made of wood. Another engraving on the inside of the turret. Joe plus Mary, 1943. It wasn't just a tank. It was a moving home. A place where someone had lived, laughed, prayed, micro-hook, and that realization scared him more than any weapon could. That evening, Kurt gathered the team, the Americans. They build these things fast, but there's something more. Their design philosophy. It's freedom, flexibility, every part easy to replace, every soldier trusted to fix it. He paused. While we build ours with fear of failure, precision, and punishment for mistakes. Emil looked at him, surprised by the tone. It wasn't admiration. It was realization. Kurt continued softly. Maybe that's why they're winning. No one spoke for a while. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, 3 German engineers sat among pieces of a foreign machine, wondering if they'd been building the wrong thing all along. Days passed. They kept working, but the mood had changed. The more they disassembled, the more the Sherman revealed not engineering genius, but something else. Humanity. Hans found a small journal wedged beneath the gunner's seat. Most pages were ruined by oil and smoke, but a few words were readable. The snow outside looks like home. Funny. How we're all freezing under the same sky? Emil read it aloud. Hans looked away. Doesn't sound like the enemy, does it? Emil whispered. Kurt said quietly. Maybe there never were enemies, just men, caught in different uniforms. That night an air raid began. Bombs thundered in the distance. The hangar shook. They doused the lanterns, hearts pounding. Through the roof, they could see flashes of light, red, white, orange. Emil clutched the photo tightly. For the first time he prayed, not for victory, but for forgiveness. When dawn came, the world was white again. Snow covered the wreckage like a shroud. A message arrived. Their unit was retreating. The tank would be abandoned. Hans grumbled, "So all this work for nothing?" But Emil didn't answer. He walked over to the Sherman. Gently, he placed the photograph and the letter back inside, right where he had found them. Kurt watched in silence. "Why?" he asked softly. Emil turned. "Because it doesn't belong to us." As they packed to leave, Kurt approached him again. "You know, Emil, we built tanks to win. They built them to come home," he paused. "And that's why they will." Emil didn't reply. He simply looked once more at the battered Sherman, its broken turret pointing toward the east, as if searching for sunrise. Weeks later, when the Allies advanced through that same village, an American recovery crew found the Sherman inside. They discovered something odd. The photo untouched. The letter placed neatly beside it, and on the corner of the letter, a single new line written in German pencil. "I hope you did come home." Years later, in 1952, Emil Hartmann stood in a museum in Munich. He was no longer a soldier, no longer an engineer, just a man trying to understand his past. Before him stood the same Sherman tank, restored, preserved, silent. He reached out, touching the cold steel. Inside the glass case, the letter was displayed. The words faded but still clear. A guide nearby was explaining to visitors. This letter was found inside a captured Sherman returned to America after the war. It's believed to have been left by one of the German engineers who examined it, adding his own note of peace. Emil smiled faintly. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The world outside was quiet. No bombs, no orders, no uniforms. He looked at the tank one last time and whispered, "You made it home after all." As he walked out into the sunlight, children played in the street. Their laughter echoed off the buildings, and for the first time in years, he felt that same warmth he had seen in the photo, the warmth of a life that refused to be destroyed. Beat war had taken everything from him. But in that old Sherman, he had found something that no one could take away, the proof that even in the darkest times, humanity survives. They say history is written by the victors, but sometimes it's remembered by the engineers who saw the truth hidden in the machines. Emil never spoke publicly about what he found that winter. But those who knew him said he changed after the war, quieter, gentler, always carrying a small photograph in his wallet. It wasn't of family. It was of the tank, the one that taught him the greatest lesson of all: war builds machines, but only peace builds men. War took everything, but humanity gave it back.